I'll make you one as well, just for later. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, just holler at me. But I will leave a lot of time up at the end to go over it as well. But thank you for recording. All right, so a lot of us are first year teachers or new to our school. We don't really, or you maybe worked at a school that had an EL program, but you didn't have a lot of English learners. Maybe you didn't have any in your class, so you're not familiar with it. And this campus especially has a large population of English learners. So we really want you to feel prepared and supported in the EL program. All right, so our opening activity, if you could in the chat box, and I will be looking at this, is what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the name English learners? So it could be the first thing that comes to mind. It could be a strategy, it could be a lesson, it could be experience you had, it could be any question you have, etc. So just the first thing that pops into your head when you think of the term English learner or EL. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. If you could put it in the chat, and we'll kind of see what words. Good. Sentence frames, visuals. Good. My first would have been like visuals, anchor charts. Preview of concepts. Awesome. Differentiation, visuals again. Labels with pictures. So anything where there's words, put a picture, right? That's what when you think of English learners, they need that visual support for sure. Let's see. Yep. Graphic organizers, front loading information, connecting to what they know already. Ooh, linguistic capital. Okay, fancy words. Even for me, but I love it. Ooh, smarties. Yes, neuro connections. I love it. Tools for success. They need a lot of tools for success. Correct. Very much so. Thank you, Bianca. Any more? Anybody else? These are all awesome. And the same thing, like what comes into mind, and this is just things that we hear in PDs or any type of trainings we've had, right? It's just all about that visual support, even academic language support, or anything written also have a picture. So that type of a thing, right? That's just very general. So I hope that by the end of the training and this whole year in series, when I ask that question, it's going to give me a little bit more of in-depth answers. I got a few of them, but I hope to kind of expand your mind on how we can support our ELs and what they actually really do need in the classroom and from you. So what is an EL program? The EL program is an English language development program using content for the development of speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So there's really those 4 skills that we're focusing on. And these are for non-English proficient or English learners known as ELs. So we no longer really refer to them as ELLs, English language learners, we just say EL. And so let's go to the next one. Our purpose and mission, and I kind of created this ourselves, myself, but pulling from a lot of different PDs that we've had in the past. And so our mission of our English learner program here is to produce language learners who are socially and academically prepared to be successful in a global society, because we believe that ELs need to develop both social and academic language. Language acquisition is developmental and acquired in stages, meaning it progresses over time. It's not going to happen in 1 year. It's not going to happen in 2. It's going to happen in stages. The rate of acquisition is unique to individuals and is influenced by multiple factors, right? And we're going to be learning later on in trainings about all these different multiple factors. But again, like anything that students learn, it is just dependent on the individualization of that student and how they learn. So it's going to be happening at different rates. Use of the first language in the home facilitates second and additional language acquisition. First language literacy development can facilitate English language literacy development. A lot of times I remember I felt like I couldn't, like it was not beneficial. I felt like it needed to be full immersion. Like I cannot speak to you in your native language even if I know it, or give you too much support, because like how much is too much support? But that is not the case. Like the more support that they have, relating their language, their home language or their first language to English and making those connections is really, really helpful. With vocabulary development, the teaching of strategies for learning new vocabulary, and of course, cultural and linguistic diversity enriches the lives of the entire school community, as you will see when we start how it's such a blessing to have so many bilingual students, and it really, really, I would say, promotes such like an awesome community here at school, and just bringing in all the different cultural diversity and linguistic diversity really, like it says, enriches our school campus. So I'm excited for you guys to see what it looks like come next Monday or the following Monday. So what does ELD stand for? That's the term you're going to hear all the time. ELD, designated ELD. So we're just going to focus on what is ELD. So that just stands for English language development. And that means that it's instruction designed specifically for English language learners to develop their listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Again, those 4 skills in English. And you might have heard of it before, known as ESL or ESOL, and I don't really refer to it, and most people don't anymore, as English as a second language. But those would be your, taboo ESL kids, so to speak. So ELD just really stands for English language development. And you'll see when we go over the program in a little bit that it's very relative to what we have, a lot of freedom in what type of program we provide for our kids to meet the needs. It's not just a one size fits all program that we just put the kids on for 45 minutes at the end of the day. You will have a lot of say in how you run that program, and to make it more beneficial, not only for the students, but also for you and the content, the curriculum, and the content that you are teaching. All right, so ELD also includes, so English language development will include, there are standards that go along with that. We'll dive into that a whole nother time. Remember, this is just an overview. We will be learning how to interact in meaningful ways with our kids and how to get them to interact in meaningful ways. We will be learning how English works and how to teach students and give them little strategies and tools to expand and enrich their vocabulary and connect and condense ideas and be able to structure, like I said, cohesive texts. And as you know, they're not just ELs, they have different levels. And so our next PD, we'll talk about in a little bit, we'll also be learning about, you know who your ELs are if you look at your rainbow rosters, but you don't know what level they are. So we will let you know if they're emerging, expanding, or bridging, and what that looks like, and the supports that need to take place for that. So specifically for Santa Ana campus, our student population, we do have 96% Hispanic population. We do have a few other languages other than Spanish that you might hear on campus. However, primarily you will hear our ELs, the other language they speak is Spanish, their first or home language. Last year, we had a 30% current English learner population, which is about 172 students. But we have to remember that this is a new year. We have a lot of new students coming in. And even though our students redesignate, meaning that they are no longer considered English language learners, they are RFEP, we still need to support them. So we do have a higher population, in my opinion, or percentage of ELs than that to support. All right, so let's just go back into how we identify it. Like, how does a student even coming to a California school for the first time get identified as English language learner? So there's really 3 steps. The first is a parent will fill out the home language survey. I remember thinking how cool it would be, if your child spoke another language at home, right? To put that, oh, they speak, my son is, half Peruvian. He doesn't really speak Spanish, but I thought it would be cool to put his name on there. But luckily I had someone pull me back and be like, does he speak Spanish? Does it affect his language? Because you don't want to put him on there because he'll be tested. And if his English is not proficient, he could be enrolled in the English language learner program. And so I think that that's where it first starts. So they ask you a few questions. I think it's 4 questions. Even if a language other than English is spoken in the home, they could still be asked to test. So this is for students, again, usually in TK or kindergarten, or coming to a California school for the very first time, will get tested if there's something other than English written on those home language surveys. The parent will be notified that their child will be tested, and they will be given something called the initial LPAC test, which we'll learn about in a second. And then after that, depending on how they do on the test, students are either classified as an English learner or they are IFEPT, which is for showing English proficiency right from the get, which the test is a lot easier than it was even 5 years ago. It matches kind of ability as far as grade level and age appropriateness, which it used to not. So It is easier to IFEP out of this, out of the English learner program earlier, but it's still, we do want to be able to support and identify our English learners. A few, as you know, there's a ton of acronyms in teaching, so here's some more. But these are the language fluency designations that you may see on ARIES, which is our attendance system and student data system. So EO would mean that they are English only students. EL means that they did take an initial test, or they came to our school from another school that did give them their initial test and they are classified as an English learner, but you might sometimes just see it as L. RFET means that they did redesignate, they tested out, and they could prove that in those 4 domains that they were proficient. And then IFET means that the first time that they tested, they show that they are initially fluent in English. So those are just some, if you want to refer back to them at some point. And real quick, we're going to go over the LPAC. This is super, just 2 slides, but what the LPAC is just a test. So the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California. So students new, like I said, to California's parents indicate a language other than English, must take this within 30 days of enrollment, which is huge. So the front office team is working really hard. They handed me all the home language surveys. I'm going to cross-check them in CalPADS to make sure that they are not already labeled as an EL. We'll get our list ready. We will communicate that with teachers and let you know when we'll be pulling students to test, but we do have to get those initial LPAC tests rolling within the first 30 days of enrollment. And once they are considered an EL, they will also have to take a summative LPAC at the end of the year. They are tested on listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and there are 3 different types of scores you can get, which is your overall, and then an oral and a written. So here are the 2 types of tests. The initial, first 30 days, the window is usually July 1st to June 30th. The reason why is because at any given time, even if a student comes into our school in April, it's their first time to California school, we have 30 days to get them their initial test. So initial LPAC tests are open year round. Summative, however, just take place at the end of the year, and that is February 1st to the 31st is when we have the window. We try to get it done as soon as we can in February, March, so we have time to practice and review for testing, and we don't overall mark students with the CASP test and LPAC and all the other things that we need to do, grading, all that fun stuff at the end of the year. But we do need a lot of teacher support, so we'll get into that again, but that's coming. So here's just a quick overview, just so you can see. I'm not going to go into it. 4 domains and the task types that a student might see in those domains. All right, so finally, the time we've been waiting for is what is our ELD program. So how, at the end of the day, I'm sure you've seen our master checklist, and there's this 45-minute chunk at the end of the day, and there's something about some ELD needs to be in there, some intervention needs to be in there. So I'm going to tell you right now what needs to happen during enrichment block, which is what we are going to kind of name it, because we do not want to label necessarily kids out loud. We don't want to call it something where it's not, we really want it to be positive, right? So we're going to call it enrichment block, but it's really first and foremost a ELD, designated ELD time for our ELs, which I'll get into. It's a great time for intervention, and then it's also used for enrichment for the students who don't need to be in any of those other categories. All right, so we have 3, our ELD program is going to be made up of 3, I'm holding up like 4, 3 programs. So you will have access to Nearpod EL, or English Learner Nearpod, and that's accessible through Clever. Into reading, so if you are grades, I believe it's K5, you'll be able to use the EL, they have through Clever, obviously, but they have EL supports on there. And then we last year we did an ELD instruction choice board, and what it was I took these task types and I made lessons that were similar. So there are some lessons on there, but really it's for you as a teacher, educator, support staff to really look at what is expected in a lesson if you choose to develop an ELD lesson or an EL lesson for your scholars in whatever core area that you want. These are the task types and the ways that the lessons will actually promote proficiency, but also just help them pass the test at the end of the year. as you know, it's really helpful to get familiar with task types and question types. So those are some options. And coming soon, hopefully we'll have maybe ListenWise. And from what I heard yesterday, and I haven't added it in here, but Move This World, is it Move This World, has EL supports and activities on there as well. So you can incorporate those. So let's break it down a little bit more. And these are non-negotiables. So I really want this to, I need to come off strong with this. If you have English learners, they will be spending the 45 minutes working on English language enrichment. It's designated to English language lessons only. So let's just look at the English learners right here. So this is actually the designated ELD program is very fluid. You have a lot of choice, which is good. So those of you who are like, I just want someone to tell me what to do, like what to teach. You can work with your grade level chairs and come up with a system as well, what works best for you, because we do want this to be spread over all core subject areas, not just ELA. But let's jump into English Learn, the overview. So students will receive ELD support for 45 minutes per day during enrichment block. So that is a non-negotiable. So you can have a student, an EL student come in one day and they're just like, I'm gonna work on this passion project. Now, if on their own, I should say, but you need to have some, could you use a passion project as a form of teaching ELD? You could, if that's what you choose and it's coming from you, or it's coming from a place where you have a lesson. So again, you have the freedom in the types of lessons, but that needs to be designated ELD time. All English learners must use this time, full enrichment block for ELD. Sorry, I just said that out loud and read it. And then ELD can and should be taught all core subject areas. So when we think a lot of English language development, we think of ELA specifically, but I really want to challenge you to incorporate this into science and into math. I don't know why I teach math and I can't think of it. Math and social studies, and just kind of how you decide to break it down as a grade level team and work with each other. Maybe someone develops the math EL lessons. Maybe someone develops the ELA lessons that have ELD support in it, but really you shouldn't have to be developing that much, because like Nearpod has so many in all subject areas. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time at the end. I probably won't I'll run out of time, but you can look those up on your own. But Nearpod would be my go-to, just because it's already set up so nicely. You also have some supplemental curriculums like vocabulary and brain pop EL and things like that that you can infuse into it to make it a little bit more fun. Now, your intervention students, this is also a great time. You can use the block for database differentiated intervention. You can use the supportive instructional aids if available. So at our campus, what I have been told is that we will probably have access to instructional aids during that block, at least one in a classroom where we could use them if it's available to us, to help us kind of facilitate this wraparound service or enrichment block. And then incorporate enrichment activity ideas. So right to the left, you'll see enrichment students, and I put some ideas there. You can incorporate some of those ideas to make the intervention more engaging, fun, and impactful. And then enrichment can look like anything, right? Enrichment students can partake in any of the activities. So even if it's intervention or ELD activity, and they are not a student who necessarily needs it, but wants to do it, let them do it. They could also be working on choice boards and other instructional platforms, passion projects, PBL opportunity centers, STEM, makerspace, whatever it may be. And those are just some options. So yes, there's a little bit of flexibility, but also we need to really make sure that our English language learners are supported, and we also are using this amazing 45-minute block for intervention and supporting our scholars. All right, I just have 2 more slides and then I'll answer some questions because I'm sure you have them. In true Presutto style, I have a website for everything. So we have a scholarship prep English learner website. I'm going to be sending you the link for it, but it is all prepped and ready to go for this year. It's set up just how I think in my head it works, right? The year progresses. So it's set up where we have a homepage, and every month I will put what you specifically on the teacher end need to do or be aware of. That way it's just like a one-stop place to go and just look at what do I have to do, if there's any action items, et cetera. And then it also has an upcoming next PD. So our next PD will be in September, and we will be doing an EL deep dive to get to know our English learners. Any PD that I do, it will be right here. So throughout the year, we really want the PDs to build and to be able to support you and go off of also your questions and your needs as a campus. So I put already our slide deck in here, the topics that are covered in this, and then I'll attach the video here. If you want to quickly review just what is expected of you for ELD instruction, I just included the 2 screenshots of what your enrichment block should look like and the program curriculum. Again, there's even more depth in it. I'm not playing this right now, but you guys can watch it near Proud EL. It goes over the lessons. I also inserted the choice board here so you can look at them. These are all hyperlinked lessons that you can use or make copies of and create your own. And then later on, this is for everything after that is just LPAC testing, logistical stuff. So really you could just focus on the first, but I wanted you to know that there's a hub that houses everything. So if you want to save this, if you would like to save this and bookmark it, that would be a smart choice. I'm going to post it in the chat so you guys can do that. Oh, I just realized that I'm not even sharing that screen and you guys are, there we go. Let's resume share. Okay, I just went over everything and you guys didn't see any of it because no one told me. I usually show my whole desktop and I'm not used to just sharing one window, so I'm just used to hopping around, but let's just show you. Can you guys see my desktop? You guys can give me a thumbs up, I can see. Can we see? Thank you. Okay, so here's kind of where I housed it. So these top 3 things right here, homepage, you'll see this is what I was talking about is the news, the overview for weeks. I usually do like a little classroom kind of situation, what's coming next. The English Learner PD series will all be linked here on the second link. I like to know what topics are covered. It's kind of like when you watch YouTube videos and it's like a 25-minute video and you just want to know exactly where I need to go and what time. So I usually do that for you as well. And then ELD instruction, just the screenshots and the overview and any types of support would be here that we cover. Later on, we'll go over LPAC, so we won't have to worry about that. And then lastly, let's go back to, I don't even know where my classroom screen is. Oh, it's right here. All right. What are we going to do? Okay, so training. Did I don't know where my presentation went? Did I? Oh, I know where it is. It's right here. Okay. And can you guys still see? Can you see it now? All right. Thank you. So what's next here is what we're going over the year. I don't want you guys to have to worry about really anything right now. This was an overview. I know we're talking about designated ELD time during enrichment block at the end of the day. We have 45 minutes, but remember the first 2 weeks is really about building relationships with your students. So right at the beginning of September, you can look forward to, you already know who they are because you can see that on the rainbow rosters, but I really want you to understand what levels they are, and that's when we're going to do the deep dive and really go into it. So we have all these other things going on in our mind. The last thing we want to do is we still need to look at our SPED, spotlights and things like that. So we're worried about our rooms and getting all of that done and planning some fun activities and team building with our students. So take this with a grain of salt, and then we'll be diving deeper in early September. After that, we'll go over some standards, ELD standards and strategies. I know one of the things you might have seen is having ELD standards on your wall. Don't worry about that. I'm going to hook you up with them anyways when we get there. But just like students, I'm not going to give you something if it's not meaningful for you, and we're not going to expect it to be put up if you're not going to use it or understand how to use it correctly. So we'll give you toolkits, checklists, strategies, and just hook you up with all the things you would need. We'll do lots of EL check-ins just to make sure that we are supporting them and giving them what they need. And then LPAC will come at a later date and time when we're ready for it. So don't worry. All right, so now it's time for a question or a Q&A. I am going to post